Hi guys. So for today's video, I wanted to just talk a little bit about my upbringing. I'd like to think that my story is unique. However, I know that in one way or another, there's a lot of people that can relate to me and my life and how I grew up. So I wanted to make this little story time, if you will, just so people know my story and know that if they relate to me in one way or another, they have someone to talk to. So let's get started. So in a typical American family, or the stereotype that people like to make, usually you'll have a mom and a dad and siblings and a big old happy family, which I know is like an old time way of thinking, because in today's day and age there are a lot of different blended families. There's a lot of different ways that people grow up. But when I was growing up, I didn't realize until I was about 8 or 9 that my family wasn't typical. My mom was very young, and that was never something I noticed until I was started, I was in school and I would have sleepovers with my friends, and I would realize they had a mom and a dad and they had little siblings and all kinds of things. So that's when I became more in tune with the way that I was growing up. So my parents were very, very young when they became pregnant with me. At the time that my mom became pregnant, she was 15 years old and she was a sophomore in high school. My dad was 14 years old and was a freshman in high school. Now, I don't know a whole lot of details, believe it or not, about my parents' relationship, because to be quite honest with you, I've never really asked, but I do know that my parents were together for about 3 years, give or take. My dad was, understandably so, he was 14 years old. So no 14-year-old is prepared to be a parent. However, I feel like if you are in the position to be making adult choices, you should be able to follow through with that no matter how old you are. I have an awesome mom. She was very, very young raising me. She built the house that I live in now when she was 19 years old. We've lived in this house all these years. Like, my mom has done amazing things for her and I. And for a long, long time, it was just her and I. And I have been hesitant to make this kind of video and talk about these kinds of things because I have a fear of trying to people please. I am always trying to make sure that everybody's happy and that I'm not stepping on toes and that I'm not upsetting anybody. But I feel like I've been quiet for way too long, and I have dealt with a lot of things that I shouldn't have had to. So let me say this. I grew up with my teenage single mother being a mixed race child who grew up with mainly just my mom's side of the family. So every once in a blue moon when I would go and hang out with my dad's side of the family, I felt very out of place because my father has never made an effort to actively be in my life. Let that not be misconceived, because I have vivid memories of being 3 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, of spending time with my dad. However, it has never been consistent. My memories are very sporadic. They are few and far between, and I now have a lot of trust issues based on the relationship that I have with him, or had with him, because today me being a 23-year-old young woman who is navigating through life and my career path and the choices that I make, I have absolutely no relationship with my father. And when I was younger, that bothered me a lot, but as time has gone on and I have formed my own opinion of him and this situation, I am just very, very in tune to everything that goes on, and I make my own choices. I don't need the influence of anybody else in my life trying to tell me how I should feel about this man when I can see clear as day how I should feel. I feel in a way that I have been cheated out of that experience of having a dad, and the saddest part is, if you were to ask him why we don't have a relationship, he would probably place the blame on me because he's done that several times in the past. The problem I have with that is, in a parent-child situation, the child should never be the one to have to reach out and beg for their parent to love them. That's not okay. And no matter how old you are, that doesn't change the fact that parent, child. So I hold a lot of hostility towards him and towards our situation, and I don't like holding that kind of animosity in my heart because I have much bigger problems and much bigger things in my life that I deal with and have dealt with. I just feel like because of what has led us to this point, that my uncomfort is mistaken for cold-hearted or bitchy, if you will, and it's not. That's just not the case. I don't think it's fair to place blame, but everything has a reason for why it happens, and I have just come to accept that. I don't know much about the other side of my family, my culture. I've dealt with feeling kind of like I don't have a place for my entire life because I'm just kind of like, and I hate using this phrase, but it's the phrase that I feel is most accurate. I kind of feel like a guinea pig in this situation because my dad was never really there for me. However, he has 5 other children that he is actively in their lives, takes care of them, is married to their mom. And I have a mom who is the greatest person on the planet in my eyes and has done a great job of raising me. But now she has her family with my 2 little siblings and their dad. So I'm just kind of there in the middle. And I try not to let that affect me because I know that I'm at the age where I'm going to start to mold my own path. And someday, hopefully sooner rather than later, I'll have my own family, my own husband, my own career, and I will be thriving because of the example that my mom has set for me. But no matter how old you are, that feeling of just kind of feeling like you don't have a place in your own family never really fades. Growing up, my friends and my cousins and close people I've had in my life, we've all had different situations as far as family goes, but no one had the same kind of situation that I had, so I felt very alone in that sense, because even if some of my friends or other family members had like broken homes, they still had good relationships with both of their parents unless one of their parents was deceased. So at least in that sense, they would have a reason to not be there for their child, but mine just didn't. So I didn't really understand. And when you're young, that's a hard pill to swallow. I try not to dwell on the past. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm going to do everything in my power to make my own success. And I hope that one day when I fall in love and get married and have kids, like way in the future, that my kids will have a good relationship with their father, no matter if him and I don't work out. So that's my biggest goal in life. As far as being mixed race, it's really hard to navigate that as well when you don't have strong support from both sides. So I have really taken to friends and books and TV shows and characters, trying to relate as much as I can, because being mixed race is one of the hardest things. I feel you don't feel like you're enough for either side of that, so that's really kind of tough. Growing up with a single teenage parent has its perks and its downside, because people don't, at least back then, they didn't get it. Now it's become so common that it's not even an issue anymore. But back then, people would ask me things like, oh, are you adopted, and stuff like that, because I don't look like my mom. And that was unfortunate, but I think I've grown into a stronger person because of comments like that. And it has its perks because I get to grow up alongside my best friend. Like, my mom and I have less of an age gap than I do with my siblings, which I think is kind of funny, but it's cool at the same time because I get to have my mom for my whole life pretty much, and she's aging backwards, so like I hope she passes that down to me. The point of the video was not only for you guys to learn a little more about my background, but as I said in the beginning, if you grew up with a single parent or a teen parent or mixed race or with daddy issues or mommy issues even, I want you to know that you are not alone in that situation. And never feel like you're not gonna have someone to talk to, or have someone that you can't relate to, or who's not gonna understand you and how you feel and the things that you go through mentally, because I've been there. I'm actively always going to be going through that, and I want to be there for people who may find themselves in a dark place sometimes, because life happens and it keeps pushing through, and you just have to power on and live your life and do that to the best of your ability, no matter what kind of hardships you may face. Things that you can control and things that you can't, as far as, you know, who you are and where you come from. So if I can help one person by telling my story and relating to you a little bit, then I've done my job, and I will be satisfied with that. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, you want more story times, or you want anything specific, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below what else you'd like me to talk about. Please do not forget to subscribe before you leave my channel, and click that bell so that you are the first to know when I upload. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for sitting here and learning my story and coming along on the journey with me. And I will see you on Sunday. Bye. What if so many text messages all of a sudden? No. My grandma is watching Family Feud or something, and apparently it's hilarious.